he relaxed, positioned himself to catch the ball, and was instead run over by left field Frank Thomas, who understood no Spanish at all and had missed a team meeting that proposed using the words yellow tango as a way to avoid. After getting up, Thomas asked Ashburn, "What the hell is a yellow tango?" Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Audiophiles. My name's John. His name's Andy. Now, I've got a cousin called Kevin. He's sure to go to heaven, always spotless, clean and neat, the smoothest you can get them. He's got a fur-lined sheepskin jacket. My ma says they cost a packet. She won't even let me explain that me and Kevin, we're just not the same. More on that later. But first, we have a track to listen to, and it is Friday. So it is a track suggested by one of our lovely viewers. As usual, we have the list, the famous list, and we go down it and discuss and allocate, etc. This track was suggested by 27 Finbar, a regular contributor, and this is from the episode Curve, I Speak Your Every Word, and they have suggested a track by Tengo, Five Cornered Drone, brackets crispy duck. I'll have mine with egg fried rice.
It's an interesting combo there, the five-cornered drone and the crispy duck.
Yeah. It's best to have it as a starter rather than a name. So we've talked about this already, but what do you know about Tengo, Andy?
I've heard a few of their tracks before. They're one of those bands where it's like, and I've said this of a few that have either been offered up by you or someone in the listening audience, where it's almost criminal that I haven't gotten around to listening to more or any of the music from these bands. But they're definitely on my radar. I've definitely listened to a few of the tracks, but Five Cornered Drone, in brackets crispy duck, is not one of them. I would have remembered that for certain. And I'm interested to go off and give it a listen. I've always enjoyed stuff I've heard from these guys. So I'm, pleased to kind of continue the journey through this this venture of checking out this tune.
Excellent. Well, you go off and have a listen, come back and tell us what you think.
I'll do just that. Really loving these like swirling guitars. It's like hypnotic. The shift. Love that. Yeah, there was again something really hypnotic about that whole over a minute of just riding out on that jam and that cyclical sounding guitar work and this kind of plodding rhythm section that's just shuffling and moving things along. And then it started to take a little shape, shift a little bit, and now we've got that one resonant guitar note to me suggested that the guitar is going to shift into this kind of like different arena a little bit for the next portion. I'm interested to see where it goes, and it sounds like it's headed right there. So let's get back into it. This is pretty.
It's for a reason. There's no reason. Things just go wrong. They always do. Nothing works out right. Try and try. You can't search. Look all around you. Oh, that's only. But it doesn't matter. It's always the same. So it's like that. That's right.
Yeah, I only caught bits and pieces of what he was saying there. The lyrics are a little bit back in the mix, not super forward, but they're still pretty clear. I think it said something to the effect of like, no matter how hard you try, there's just this message of like kind of like futility, and sort of, I don't know, almost like he'd given up on something. I'd love to know what it is he is being so defeatist about, but that's what I caught thus far. that vibrato on that note. Oh yeah, I love that whole. Well, I really enjoyed that song completely. But I love that post vocal portion where the guitar just is on a bender and just, I mean, literally and metaphorically, like, it seems like it's drunk, but it's also bending all of these notes as well. Um, so yeah, it was just, and the rhythm section is still saying so precise and like on top of its game, but you have this guitar that is like coloring outside the lines and bending and shifting and pushing and pulling. um it sounds like it's just any moment away, one note away from just completely flying off the rails, but it doesn't quite do it. And it's really fun how much it kind of flirts with disaster, uh but still manages to keep everything on course, if you will. Yeah, the way the music was composed and put together is great. I've heard stuff by these guys before, and I've caught shades of other bands I thought they sounded like. In this, I really got Sunny Day Real Estate, especially from the first portion, with sort of that guitar motif that was happening around and kind of the circular kind of swirling motions to the guitar. It definitely reminds me a lot of the stuff I've heard from Sunny Day Real Estate. But I did thoroughly enjoy this listen. Those 6+ minutes flew by pretty quickly, as they will do when you are enjoying what you're listening to, which I did. So let's get back to John and have him fill in some gaps for me. Yeah, this is a really good listen. All right, back to John.
Okie dokie, picking a pokey. So you've had a listen.
Yes.
Tell us your deepest. Tell us what do you think?
Well, maybe I'll tell you some of my deepest thoughts too. Let's see where this goes. But yeah, man, I really really enjoyed listening to this song. We get this beautiful, clear, almost swirling guitar motif to set the groundwork for the jam we're about to embark on, and it's accompanied by an ever-growing presence of percussive friction in the background. And then we get treated to what, John, you like to call a bass bump. And we are into the beat proper as the song becomes fully realized. And as this next minute or so, it's definitely or so because it's over a minute, kind of progresses, I'm thinking, damn, one of the things I'm thinking is, damn, this really reminds me of Sunny Day Real Estate guitar work with the kind of like that swirling cyclical sound that the guitar brings to the mix. I remember hearing in some of the, I think Roses in Water and Pillars was another track that kind of utilizes the same sort of, it's not the same, but it's cut from a similar cloth. So that's initially where my brain goes to, something I'm familiar with, right?
Yeah. So yeah, just to chip in on that, it's almost like geometric, isn't it? If you're not quite sure exactly what shape it's building, but it's building a shape.
Yes. Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. And while it's doing that, the rhythm work the rhythm section is kind of working in tandem to create this kind of plotting progressive movement beneath that aforementioned cyclical sounding guitar portion. And they carried this on for over a minute. And the nature of the music, coupled with the length that they jam out on, sort of allows for this almost hypnotizing effect on me. Like you just sort of get caught in the undertow of it all, and you're just kind of letting it wash over you. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh shit, it's been a minute and 15 seconds or a minute and 20 seconds. So then at the minute and 10-second marker, the guitar strikes this really interesting note that resonates for a little longer than the other notes that were part of that motif earlier. And it suggests it's about to start doing some interesting, and I use this term loosely, or maybe outside, I use it outside of the parameters of tradition, but a lead portion. We get like some lead work on the guitar. It's not leading on the guitar in the traditional sense, like someone's, playing the distinct lead over the bridge or whatever, and we're gonna go. No, it's just this movement of guitar that's all this single note kind of resonant stuff. And it's really rather beautiful, and it's kind of semi-sad too, with this slower single note motif that I just talked about. It's judiciously plucked, and it's just got this wonderfully melodious pace to it. And as this continues for over a minute, again, this idea of like creating a portion and then riding it out is something that they're doing expertly through this. And now we're on to like sort of the second wave of that, where we get this guitar work that I just mentioned. And this continues for over a minute, and the sound grows slightly as we move along, and we're finally introduced to the first vocal appearance around the 2:36 mark in the song. And the vocals are delivered clearly, but what makes them hard to catch at points is like their level in the mix within the track itself. It isn't this modern, super forward kind of recording standard that they use for the lyrics. It's more of this like, it's equal, as opposed to given this sort of like sonic advantage as the rest of the tracks on the song, which I actually kind of like. And I caught something about there's no reason, things just go wrong, they always do, nothing works out right, and something about trying and trying that sounds to be delivered in a rather futile way. There was a reference to looking with both eyes open, and again, it doesn't matter, and things staying the same, and more about trying and trying. So I'm not picking up all the words, verbatim, but all of this sounds very defeated or very defeatist. And there's some sort of realization of futility in something, or some effort that you continually go through the motions of, but unfortunately the same results of no resolutions are found. And after this vocal portion, the guitar bends and gives all signals that it could easily come off the musical rails, despite every effort of the rhythm section to keep its precise footing. So there's this really interesting dynamic between the precision of the rhythm section to remind the listener, don't worry, you haven't completely fallen off the rails. But the wildly drunk buddy that is the guitar is doing everything it can to kind of pull things off. And I like the weird juxtaposition of those two entities within the song. The guitar wails and bends and pulls the rhythm section to pick up the pace when it does. So even though the rhythm section doesn't fall off, it does quicken its pace to keep up with this Mad Hatter that is the guitar in this portion. And I think that's really fun and cool. And we have this shuffling drum beat with more pep in its step, and the bass going at twice the pace it had been. All the while, the guitar continues to carry on, having this musical fit before this amazing vibrato on a sustained high note of the guitar that acts as almost a death rattle for the spastic fit. And it starts to relax itself and uncoil, and it goes back into this languid pace until the song finally reaches its end. And I just thought that was a fun play in dynamics and movement and rhythms, and sort of time signature, all kind of wrapped into this last third or quarter of the song. Yeah, I really, really enjoyed this one. It was a lot of fun. For a while, I didn't think we were going to get any lyrics. I was like, oh shit, this is a Yo Tango song with no vocals. But then we get them, and you're looking at the timestamp. You're thinking you're going to get more than this little like blurb or paragraph that this guy delivers, and then but no, that's quite the opposite. It was just that, no more, and that's fine. It could have been a complete instrumental, and I would have loved it just as much. I don't know how much the lyrics really added to it, but I mean, there was definitely a canvas on which for the singer to paint, and he did, but just in a very concise, judicious fashion. But yeah, I really, really liked it. You're probably going to have a really easy time with the lyrics, as it didn't sound like much was going on there. But again, the song and the feeling behind those lyrics was this one of like sort of giving up or this futility and effort sort of situation. But hopefully you can help spackle things together and help me make sense of it. But that's kind of where I stood after having listened to it just the once.
Okay. Yeah, my take on the song, I wrote it down rather than typed out my notes for this, so bear with me. But yeah, I just thought this was a classic sort of Yola Tango song. I mean, it really sounded like them. Um, and that lovely sort of dissonance you get to the guitar, especially that end portion is just really wonderful. And you do get this, it's shades, isn't it? So it's a bit of futility and a bit of despair's too strong a word, but kind of giving up and hopelessness, but it's kind of a shoulder shrug hopelessness rather than
Yeah, there's an all shucks nature to the delivery, but the words seem to be a little bit more, I don't know, extreme than the delivery of, oh well, because that's kind of the vibe that you got from it. But things like, never works or whatever, or always try but never works being reiterated twice in a very small span of lyrics seems to
yeah.
be pretty, there's finality to that or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I'm no aficionado of Yola Tango. I know a bit of their stuff, but I don't think I've ever heard him animated,
Yeah.
really screaming and going out for it. So this kind of, yeah, I thought it was just a great song, and it really is as a kind of mood piece. It really draws you in, as you say, hypnotizes you and gets you within its vortex. It's a great track.
Yeah.
So, a bit about Yola Tango. So, Ira Kaplan and Georgia Hubley formed the band as a couple in 1984. They chose the name Yola Tango, which is Spanish for I have it. The name came from a baseball anecdote. So, rounder story coming up.
Yes.
In the 1962 season, when the New York Mets center fielder Richie Ashburn and shortstop Elio Cacon found themselves colliding in the outfield. When Ashburn went for a catch, he would yell, "Oh, got it, I've got it," only to run into Cacon, a Venezuelan who only spoke Spanish. Ashburn learned to yell, Yola Tengo instead. In a later game, Ashburn happily saw Cacon backing off as he was shouting Yola Tango. He relaxed, positioned himself to catch the ball, and was instead run over by left field Frank Thomas, who understood no Spanish at all and had missed a team meeting that proposed using the words Yola Tango as a way to avoid. After getting up, Thomas asked Ashburn, "What the hell is a yellow tango?" Nice story. Yola Tango, they've been obviously going since '84, a long time. They have recorded 17 studio albums from 1986's Ride the Tiger all the way through to This Stupid World, released last year in 2023.
Right.
They've also put out 16 EPs and 22 singles. After varying success with their earlier output, the band first charted with their 8th album, I Can Hear the Heart Beating as One. Widely regarded as their best work, Rolling Stone has put it at number 423 in their list of 500 greatest albums of all time. So, the husband and wife team of Kaplan and Hubley went through a number of band members, including 13 bass players. I mean, they're so common and disposable, I can understand that. Before achieving a settled lineup with 14th Time Lucky, James McNew on their 6th album, May I Sing With Me, 1992, from which this track is taken.
Okay.
Five Cornered Drone (brackets Crispy Duck) is apparently a remake of the song Crispy Duck with different lyrics. And that track can be found on the reissue, the CD reissue of Ride the Tiger. Now, I didn't know the track Crispy Duck, so I listened to it. And I think only those three people know that it's a reworking because So when you listen to Crispy Duck, I mean, it's played with the same instruments. There's a similarity, but it's got a twangy guitar. There's no distortion at all. It's a nice track. Don't get me wrong. There's more lyrics. Your guess is as good as mine what they are. I mean, it's quite lo-fi, and he is singing into an empty shoe. Let's have a tough time, and you get a couple of lonely, I'm so damn lonely. Yeah, that's it. It's great, and it does speed up a bit towards the end. The drums are really front and center on this, so we're a pounding beat. It's a great track, you know. It's not as good as this, though, you know, but
Okay.
I don't know why they put brackets crispy duck because no one else would have known,
Yeah.
honestly. There you go. Makes them happy. So the lineup for this track, this album, and onwards for 1992 is Ira Kaplan, guitar and vocals, James McNew, bass, occasional vocals, occasional guitar, and Georgia Hubley, drums and vocals. I think McNew sung on, oh, which one was it? Was it Stockholm Syndrome? I think he sung on one of the ones off that album. Really, really good. Of the album May I Sing With Me, All Music Said, classic Yola Tengo, merging pop and noise in an awesome oral display. Songs start with Ira Kaplan's repetitive, brackets, and very simple chord changes as Georgia Hubley and James McNew add layer after layer of supportive sound. Yeah, and I think it's worth noting they have a range of styles. I picked up ages ago a compilation. It's only on CD, Prisoners of Love, Yola Tango, and it's like a double album of sort of the best bits, I guess. And there's some fantastic tracks in there, but they range from like this lo-fi sound to this kind of almost shoegazy at points, definitely grungy. Sort of almost experimental avant-garde noises, indie rock straight down the line, and country tinged twangers as well.
Wow, they're wearing a lot of hats in that.
Yeah. And I would think if anyone's not, and this again, not an expert, but from what I know and what I've heard, I think anyone new to Yo Tengo would start with this album and then work outwards, as it were, either side of the albums. And I think if you get so far and you're still on board, then you'll love everything. You know, I think that's the way it goes with a lot of bands as well. But this is definitely the one. So now for the lyrics. It's only about 30 words, I think. Time
That's about right.
waits for reason, but there's no reason. Things just go wrong. They always do. Nothing works out right, though you try and try. You can search. You can look all around you with both eyes open. But it doesn't matter. It's always the same. It's always like that. You try and try and try. Yeah, and that's when he lost his job as a motivational speaker.
Yeah, I was gonna say, keep this guy away from like high school students. This would be the worst guidance counselor ever.
It's not exactly yes, we can, is it?
No. It's like fuck it, why try? You know? That's what it sounds like.
Yeah.
Good grief.
So, I mean, I will say, yeah. So it's sort. I guess you summed it up very well. It's futility.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
You know, it's just it's all shit anyway.
Yeah.
But it's a lovely sounding piece of despair.
Yeah. Delivered with almost, it's almost saturated in apathy, like the way he delivers these too. So he's obviously come to grips with it. So I guess we should too.
Yeah, definitely. So the band has continued to gain varying amounts of critical praise, especially 2006. I Am Not Afraid of You and I Will Beat Your Ass album, which they also continue to show they have a great sense of humor, actually. And they've done a live covers compilation, which is called Yo La Tengo is Murdering the Classics, which I think is a great name for an album.
Yes.
And in 2020, the band released an album called We Have Amnesia Sometimes, which was recorded over a 10-day period from late April to early May amid the COVID-19 pandemic.
Mhm.
The album consists of 5 instrumental ambient compositions, which were recorded with one microphone in the room and the band spread out, adhering to social distancing rules. Yeah, I know.
Crazy times.
So, yeah. Commercial success really has eluded them. but the aptly titled Popular Songs from 2009 gave them their highest charting position of number 58 in the US album charts, and that's about as far as it's got. This, I think, got like to about number 24, I think it is, in the UK indie charts, and that's about it over here as well. But they're a band that I think everybody must have heard of them. Even if they haven't heard the songs, you just heard them because the longevity, I guess.
Yes.
I think
Yes.
they're a really, really good band, and they have moments. I've got about 6 of their albums, and not got this one. This is off, but I have downloaded it since it was up for discussion. And they all out like this album. There's a couple of really good tracks in there, and there is a couple of tracks where it feels like they're sort of coasting it a little bit. I'd say this album is start to finish absolutely brilliant. And that compilation, Prisoner of Love, is really good as well. But,
Yeah, it's always been my impression that you're right about the commercial success thing, but I will tell you that, like, as someone who, if I don't have options, like I don't have my MP3 player or something like that available to me, and I'm listening, and I happen to be listening to radio, it's usually like WTMD, which is our college stuff out here. You will hear pretty consistency some Yola Tango on their airwaves, but you're right. I've never turned on, your rock station and found these guys out there. So it's just a niche cult following thing, but I think you're right. You do it long enough, even if you don't have mass commercial success, your name is going to have some, weight behind it, or name recognition, I suppose.
yeah, something like Guided by Voices or whatever, same sort of thing.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'll wrap things up. I would say thank you once again to 27th Bar. This is
This is a
really
great track.
good. And this is a track which I think I'd heard in passing before, but never really sat down and listened to it. So it was good to go back to this again. And it was interesting to hear the first Crispy Duck. The first Crispy Duck of the year is always the best one, isn't it?
that's the old adage.
When they're in season. Yeah, thanks for listening to this, Andy. I think we both really enjoyed this.
Yeah, sure.
Folks out there, tell us what you think, and let us know if you enjoyed it by hitting that like button. Drop some comments about this track, about the original Crispy Duck, Yola Tango, anything you like. We love to hear from you. And yeah, it's always fun to read your comments. And if you haven't subscribed already, please do. As we speak, we have passed the magic 1,000 subscribers mark. And so we now have a new target, 1,014. Can we get there? Can we get there? You can make the difference. But yeah, we really appreciate everybody who does support the channel. So yeah, please do think about clicking on that and joining in all this hot mess. That being said, thanks again so much for watching, and we'll see all of you on the next episode of the Audiophiles.
See you later, guys.